What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening, whenever it is you're watching this. This is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. If you are new to the channel, if you could do me a huge favor, as you watch the video, if you decide, hey, I kind of like this content. This guy's putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of research to make the videos worthwhile. Do me a huge favor, guys. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You have no clue how much that helps, guys. It keeps us motivated to keep pushing out content, guys, because let's be real. If you're making YouTube videos, it makes you an attention whore. We all know that. All right, to all my OGs, you already know what I'm going to ask you to do, guys. You can go ahead and please hit that thumbs up button. That's how we communicate to YouTube and let YouTube know that, hey, this is a community in which we converse, we talk back and forth, and you know what? We get reactions and react to videos. So in return, YouTube takes this material and then pushes it out across the platform. All right, y'all. Today's topic, we are going to round out my thoughts about the draft value at linebacker in the 2020 NFL draft. Guys, I found a few players I want to talk about. All these guys are going to be somewhat incomplete. They're not going to be perfect football players. Okay? With that said, I think they add value to the Philadelphia Eagles linebacker core. And let's be real. As I said yesterday, I would love to see the Eagles do something not as predictable as we've been in the past and draft someone like a linebacker, something like that, a corner, something that would be like, wow, we didn't see that coming. But it's just not the MO of Howie Roseman and the Eagles. We haven't really done that in a very long time. So where I do think you might see it is right now we currently hold 5 picks between the beginning of round 3 and the end of round 4. If I had to take a wild guess on where we might target a linebacker, it's going to be the beginning of round 3 towards the end of round 4 is where you're going to see the Eagles probably target a linebacker in this 2020 NFL draft. So without further ado, why don't I quit blabbing on so much and actually present to you the players I feel might be targeted by the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, y'all. Let's get into today's content, y'all.
In there. Travis Dawkins in motion. Dowdle on the draw.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. So, look, there are 3 guys. There are 3 guys that I've been looking at when I talk about where I think the Eagles might actually draft a linebacker. And let's just start this conversation off today by let's just stating the obvious. The game of football has changed drastically, sorry guys, over my almost 37 years of, being alive. I mean, I really grew up when you had teams that were still running, 54 defenses, things like that. I mean, it was just different back then where a linebacker was a much more coveted position because let's be honest, if you're defending the run, linebacker is a big part of that. In today's NFL, you're going into a lot of these sub packages, right? A lot of nickel, big nickel, dime, things like that because the passing game has taken over. So, linebacker as a result has changed drastically. So when I was really digging into this, I had to really try to take myself outside of the traditional mold of what is a linebacker. And I did it a little bit yesterday with Isaiah Simmons, and I talked to you and I said, look, there's a lot of debate where a lot of people have no clue what the hell to label Isaiah Simmons other than a really good football player. Just a phenomenal freak. He's like 6'4", 230 pounds. The dude can play free safety. The dude can play strong safety. The dude can play Mike. The dude can play Sam or the Will. Like, he can play inside, outside. He can play linebacker. He can play safety. The kid's just a phenomenal athlete. And I do think that if you're looking at that, then you kind of have to fit and understand where the general trend of the league is going. And the 3 guys I pulled out today, I pulled out for very specific reasons. Number 1, I felt that they had very good lateral speed. Their sideline to sideline abilities were, I thought, phenomenal. Number 2, they all bring a certain versatility in a sense. And then number 3, I think as people turn on the film, they will see more and more of the question marks and make them more of a developmental piece in the league. And then slowly but surely, those players will probably drop down a little bit on people's draft boards. I still think these guys can be developed and turned into incredibly, productive football players. But there's a distinguishing line between them and guys like Patrick Queen and, Kenneth Murray and Isaiah Simmons. Like, they're not to that level of an athlete yet. With that said, let's jump into who these three are. Number one, talking about Ohio State product, Malik Harrison. The second guy on my list, Appalachian State, linebacker, rush edge, rover, whatever you want to call him, Akeem Davis-Gaither. A guy I got to watch play quite a bit this season because I'm about 2 hours outside of Boone, North Carolina. And then last but not least, Oregon product and linebacker, Troy Dye. These guys, they just really stood out on film to me. When I put the film on, I was just kind of in awe of some of their abilities. I think there's some developmental issues with each and every one of these players. And I'm going to get into that and why I think that their values might slide a little bit. I'm not talking about drastically dropping down draft boards, but they're going to slide a little bit. I do think earlier on in the year, towards the playoffs, beginning of January, you were hearing some chatter of guys like Akeem Gaither Davis even being mentioned in the late first round, which that's not going to happen. People are tripping. I don't even think he's a second round. I think it's questionable for him to be a third round talent, to be honest, when you turn the film on. And then you get guys like Malik Harrison, same thing, where a lot of people are talking about second round value. I still think that could happen in the late second round, but I do think a lot of teams might slide him down the draft board into the third round, possibly early fourth round. So, and then Troy Dye is the one I think has kind of always held his, and I'm a little scared that when Troy Dye goes to the combine, he's the one I'd watch out for because this kid really pops on tape, and he's got some issues in coverage, but I got a feeling this kid's going to really show a lot of agility in the drills. Like, this kid's very agile. So these are my feelings. These are three guys I'm targeting. So I'm going to break it down one by one. And I want to start with Malik Harrison of Ohio State because I think he's the most ready. I don't think his ceiling is the highest out of these guys, but I think he's the most ready to step onto an NFL field right now and contribute out of these three. So without further ado, let's talk about Malik Harrison, Ohio State, inside linebacker. All right. Let's jump into it. If I had to give you one major point to take away about Malik Harrison, it's this. In my opinion, he is the definition of what it means to be a fast flow linebacker. Okay? This is a kid who will play the run on the way to the pass. And if he sees it's a run, he will attack it. And at times, he gets exposed. And you'll see it on film to where a back kind of slips by him and hits him on a wheel route and burns him bad because he's a fast flow. He's playing the run on the way to the pass. That's just the way fast flow defenses work, and that's the way the Philadelphia Eagles work. We are a cover three fast flow defense. It's just the way it is. He's going to be a fit here because he's going to have that scheme familiarity with what we're asking our linebackers to do. So I'll give you an example of this where it didn't work out in his favor. Lawrence and Etienne have been killing with that option all day. The one thing I'll give credit that I kind of, after watching this game a second time, running the film on it, man, I'll tell you what, that Clemson and Ohio State game was a good football game, guys. I mean, just the matchups between like T. Higgins and Ross versus Jeff Okudah and David Arnett Jr. Like, dude, I mean, Damon Arnett Jr. I mean, people stood out on film to me in this game, especially on Ohio State if you're talking about the defense. I mean, look, Jeff Okudah, Damon Arnett stood out on defense. Chase Young stood out. And then Malik Harrison. Malik Harrison really kind of stood out to me in this game. Look, I showed you a play where he got burned a little bit with his aggressiveness, but for every play he got burnt with his aggressiveness, he did kind of turn it into a positive. And this is where you can see that despite what some people might say about his abilities in run, the kid is a very, very good run defender. And I think that's easy to forget sometimes about Malik Harrison, is that he's a very physical tackler. He's really good at using his hands to stack offensive linemen, to get his hands in there with that punch, stack the offensive lineman and shed that block. And he doesn't have a lot of length. He doesn't have like the greatest length to do that. It's just pure power and pure knowledge of how to play the position.
Lawrence, a keeper, and he's strung out and spun down.
And he's got these really good instinctual elements then when it comes to run defense. And I got to tell you, the guy popped on film to me as a better sideline to sideline defender than I anticipated him being. And I'm going to show you that now because if we're going to show where he did the negatives, then let me show you at least one positive of him. I mean, really stepping up and playing the run in a very, very good way.
He fake it to Dixon. They flip it short. Higgins in traffic is hit immediately.
In my opinion, the biggest concern you're going to have with a prospect like Malik Harrison is his coverage abilities. And here's the deal. If you watch film at the line of scrimmage, he's pretty good at disrupting the route with his hands, jamming a guy, throwing the route off just a split second, that type of thing. He's really good, and he has very good sideline to sideline range to where, covering the backs and the flats, covering the flats, he can definitely do it.
Quarterback Trevor Lawrence gets into that throwing window right there.
Where I think you'll get concerned with a guy like him is no way, no shape, no how would I advocate early in his career that you allow him to drop back in a man-to-man type coverage situation and try to pick up a tight end, inside slot receiver. Even a running back running something like a wheel route is probably not ideal because it's not the athleticism. It's just the feel for the route that he doesn't have it yet. It's not there.
Work through his progressions to his right. Watch his head. Eventually sees it's covered through.
Akeem Davis. Switching gears, guys. This is one of the players that I'm really excited to talk about because I feel like the Eagles, and I said this in an earlier video, but I think we've got to get more dynamic playmakers, not only at the outside receiving position, we need it on the defense in general. And if we don't have the ability to force people into third and longs and turn the ball over and get a pass rush home, it's just not going to work out, guys. Like, you've got to be able to do that. And Akeem Davis, I think, is a big gamble. So it's a big risk, but it also can come with the upside of having a high reward here. Look, he's one of these awkward in-between positional guys, all right? But I'm going to tell you right now, he is flat out one of the best overall athletes in the 2020 NFL Draft. My fear here is just like the guy I'm going to go over next, he's one of these guys like Dye that when he gets measured, and they go in and they do these, agility drills and stuff, I'm hoping people don't ignore the film completely and overvalue the kid and draft him too high. This is a kid, if you can get late in the third, early in the fourth, it's going to give you appropriate value for what he is. He's not polished. There's a lot, that has to be worked with here. But, man, the athleticism here is something to behold. And the league is changing. You need athletic guys who can cover these fast, slot, motioning, moving guys. So, like I said, he's hard to place positionally, my bad, guys. Some people see him as a Malcolm Jenkins, Micah Fitzpatrick, Isaiah Simmons type athlete. I personally don't feel the film supports that particular notion. Athletically, sure. However, I'm not saying he can't be that guy. I'm saying there's nothing on film that I've looked at that would indicate he's ever been asked to be that type of guy. I've seen this guy play more of a typical or traditional will, maybe even an edge rusher. I have not seen him in off-ball coverage as like a safety or a nickel. He can cover. He's got coverage abilities. He's got that hip movement. But that would be a long-term development there. He hasn't been asked to do that at the college level. So that would definitely be a big transition in the NFL. With that said, I'll show you what this kid can do off the edge and just how athletic he is. Because, boy, this kid flying around offensive tackles on that outside edge, it's a thing of beauty.
Travis Dawkins in motion. Dowdle on the draw.
What I am the most excited about when you look at a guy like Akeem Davis is the fact that he plays like there's a fire lit under him. As a matter of fact, he reminds me of a guy. I won't say his name, but this is what I'll say about the way he plays with that fire lit under him. He used to, transform into a different guy every game day. A comic book character, if you will. Akeem Davis is very disruptive with the football, okay? If you're when he's playing off that edge, he is just, I mean, incredibly gifted there.
Olinsky.
Come on. Tell me that didn't remind you of a certain Philadelphia Eagle in the mid 2000s who, let's just say, had a tendency to fly through the air like a damn flying squirrel seeking down his opponents. I mean, this kid is incredibly gifted, guys. He's an incredible athlete. Now, I'll say this. This kid was way more physical at the point of contact for, 6'2", 219, 220-pound guy than I thought he would be. Like, I definitely had concerns of, oh man, point of contact, he could be a bit of a liability because he's not the biggest dude. So he's going to have to display a certain level of toughness to ward that off to get in there and get into those tackles. So I was pleasantly surprised at just how physical he was at the point of contact.
Battle again.
Akeem Davis is just one of these very rangy linebackers who can cover sideline to sideline and has this incredibly high motor, right? I told you he plays like there's a fire lit under him. Look, he's going to stand out to you if you watch film. Go watch the South Carolina and the North Carolina game if you want to see the way he can impact larger Division I schools. And then if you want to see where there's a little more nuance to this game, and there's a little more development needs to occur with him, to go watch the South Alabama game. That'll give you kind of an idea of where he needs to improve upon. However, he's going to stand out to you on film, man. This guy flashes almost every play. And he looks like a guy that can cover tight ends. He can cover backs. He can probably even line up and cover a slot receiver, to be quite honest. And I think the most diverse tool in this kid's box is the fact that you don't know if he's covering or if he's coming for you in any given situation. And by the way, if he doesn't get there to pressure the quarterback with his sack, he has the intelligence and the mind of a safety to get them hands up and try to bat that ball down. I'm going to show you an example of that.
Interference or get a big play down.
Batted down.
Okay. My third and final prospect of the day is a guy that when I turn on the film, he was another one of these guys that just, you fall in love with him when you watch the film. This kid's athleticism is incredible. And I'm referring to Oregon Ducks inside linebacker, Troy Dye. And he's just one of these more athletically gifted linebackers in this 2020 NFL draft. And the truth be told, he's one of these kids that scare the crap out of me because I feel like teams can really fall in love with this kid's combine. And they might overvalue him. He's a kid I wouldn't touch in the second round. I might start giving consideration in the third round, but to me, he truly has that fourth round value. Because I'm going to tell you guys, when you talk about having high energy and a high motor, toughness, this kid has it. Like, he has it. He's definitely one of these kids that pops on film, especially his run defense and just the energy he brings in that aspect to the game.
We'll talk about, and it's an end around on the very first play. Auburn will look to generate.
I'll admit, when Troy Dye first came on my radar, I wasn't that impressed. I really kind of looked at the guy. I saw a couple of snaps. I remember watching a few Oregon games. I was like, quasi whatever football player. But I didn't really study the film on the kid. And then I was like, you know what? It's time to start doing these linebacker, drafts. And he kept popping up in some of the list. And then I had different members who are subscribers here kept telling me to look into him. So I was like, all right, let me do an honest evaluation of him. And I'll be honest with you. He was a much better run defender than I thought he was going to be. He is very good at using his arm length. He's a very lengthy guy. Using that arm length and getting that good punch and shedding the block. He's very good at that, guys. He knows how to basically stack and shed offensive linemen very well. He has just an incredible pop with his hands, a lot of strength in those hands. And at the point of contact, he keeps very good balance, okay? So his contact balance is better than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised with just how good this kid is in run defense and just how violent he can be with those hands. as a pass rusher, Troy Dye, man, this kid can really shoot the gap. His athleticism is just really difficult for O linemen to basically find him, keep pace with him, and engage him on that line. Look, he's definitely got utility and use as a pass rusher at the next level. Now, is he the most instinctful? Does he still need to learn hand placement and some technique? Of course. But the raw athleticism as a pass rusher, yeah, it's definitely there, guys.
Nix from the pocket.
The real knock on his game is his pass coverage skills. He's not as bad as some people want to make him out to be, but I'll be honest with you. He's not very good at pass coverage yet. I mean, that's why I think his value is going to drop if people watch film. So, look, he's a long way away from being trusted in man coverage. You're not going to trust this kid to lock up one-on-one with tight ends and running backs very often early in his career. He's going to need development there. However, he's okay in zone coverage. I mean, he can hold his own. But you're left feeling, even in zone coverage, that he had a better feel for like the depth, how deep he needs to be, with basically getting up there and using that length he has to disrupt and close in those throwing windows for quarterbacks on receiver routes. I mean, if he could do that, he could become a 3-down linebacker in this league. He could then become a guy that maybe he's not a big pick guy, anything like that, but he can make it very difficult for quarterbacks to fit throws into windows because of how lengthy this kid is. You get a kid up there who can really extend and can close in on that window, it makes it harder to fit balls in and over people. So that's where Troy Dye really needs to develop a little more to basically become that 3-down linebacker in the league. Now, don't sleep on this kid's pass rush abilities, guys. I think this kid's pass rush abilities are phenomenal, and his pass rush and the way he plays the run is what's going to give him that third, fourth grade value, round value to me. So, look, pass rusher, yes. Athleticism, absolutely. Ability to play the run, yeah. The way he stacks offensive linemen and sheds those blocks, pretty impressive. Now, needs to develop as basically a pass defender, but the rest of his game, it's there, guys. Like I said, guys, do not sleep on this kid's ability to rush the passer.
Nix immediately has to dodge the rush.
Okay, guys, hope everyone enjoyed today's content. Look, a lot of research, guys. These videos they're time consuming, man. They take a lot of time to really put together, to organize your thoughts, to really analyze who you think is worth mentioning, who is not. Listen, some of you might be noticing I left a certain player off from Texas Tech, I believe, which is Jordan Brooks or whatever. Guys, when I watch the film on some of these guys, I don't think the reputation holds up to the scrutiny of the film. I just don't think some of these guys are worth the time. With that said, here's my general, question of the day, guys. The general sense of my question of the day is this. Would you consider taking a linebacker in that third or fourth round? Okay? Because I would love to get, if no one else is available. I mean, there's guys I would put ahead of linebackers, but if no one else is available, I would love to get a guy like a Patrick Queen. I would love to get a guy like a Kenneth Murray, someone like that caliber of talent. But those are hard to come by. Those are hard to identify. Those are hard to get, and you have to really fall into the right position for that. Now, what I'm basically asking you is, if you're sitting there in the third round, we got 63rd or so pick in the third round, and linebacker Malik Harrison is still available late in that round, would you draft him? I think his kid's a good player. I wouldn't be upset if the Eagles made that move at that point. Second question. We got 3 fourth-round picks. We know we need to get more dynamic on the defense. You got a guy like Akeem Davis-Gaither available. We know that he's a bit of a question mark. Do you call him a will? Do you call him an edge rusher? Do you call him a safety? What is this guy exactly? Well, he's a good football player. We all know that. Would you consider using one of those fourth-round picks on Akeem Davis-Gaither? And my last question. Once again, you're targeting people. You're pulling corners. You're pulling those receivers. You went and got you some interior linemen. Now you're in the fourth round again, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, we need a linebacker. And you know what? This Troy Dye kid is sitting there. Look, this is an athletic guy. Yeah, he's got some limitations and pass coverage abilities. But man, he's a dynamic run defender, and he's a pretty damn good, pass rusher. Would you consider drafting linebacker Troy Dye was one of those 3 4th-round picks? All right, y'all. Those are my questions of the day. Y'all know what time it is. It's time that we end these videos and we do a little something where we go EAGLES. All right, y'all. Let's go Eagles. All right, y'all. I might go into maybe some like restricted free agents or undrafted rookie free agents, not restricted. Maybe some undrafted rookie free agents tomorrow. Maybe kind of talk about that. But I'm going to basically be rounding up this thought process about linebackers, tying it together between the free agent, the current signings we have on the Eagles, right? These guys we talked about in the draft, and then tie that up to like maybe giving you a surprise player that could be a late round pick or an undrafted rookie free agent. All right. So all right, y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Peace. I'm out of here.